But
are you drinking coffee yet, Pavers?
no, this is tea.
Boring.
Well, you girls both drink coffee, don't you?
Yeah. Well, that's a fucking big mug.
You got a big one there.
Where's that mug?
My first one of the day, so I like to make it last, you know?
I normally have 2, but I have them in that. It's like a standard mug. It's not actually that big.
Very cute.
Look at us, old before old, sitting here with our hot drinks.
I'm loving pretending that I'm older than I am.
Lockdown life is for us. With the gym, we'll be happy. I need to stop my voice recording.
Dun, dun, dun.
Off we go. Hopefully no phone calls interrupting this today.
Oh, yeah.
We will see. Right.
You not disturb. Are you on your iPad?
Yeah.
Just put not disturb on.
Oh dear.
Oh, bye. Oh, I'm back.
Hey.
That didn't work, did it? I just did the flick up thing.
By the way.
I did what?
I've been recording for ages.
I hope you got your phone bit when you were like
in the morning. Right. So today is our 3rd part of our 3-part series. And we're going to talk about why hormones, like why it's important to have balanced hormones, basically what they do. And then we're going to touch on, well, the main part actually we're going to talk about is kind of like the female athlete triad, but more recently known as RED-S, which is kind of like basically why a lot of women in sport lose their cycle. And we can also touch on the fact that it can affect males as well. So I think that's the stuff.
First thing, because me and Carmen said that the female athlete triad, we learned about that at uni, and we think it's this like pretty much the same thing, but it's just been, the name's been changed. So we learned the female athlete triad as like the 3 things that you would notice, I guess, when a female's maybe overtraining. So like loss of period, super tired, low bone density, and those, I think these things are pretty similar to RED-S.
Yeah, I think it is, isn't it? Just it's like the modern version, because now it can affect males as well.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. But I don't know. Carmen, do you want to head up the start of what it is?
Okay, so RED-S, relative energy deficiency syndrome. So yeah, like Fee said, that it kind of falls into 3 things, but the reason why it's kind of deviated from female base to male base is because the disordered eating part can then lead to, and I guess overtraining, can lead to issues with hormones, which can then lead to issues with your bone health. So yeah, I don't know what you wanted to talk on first. The disordered eating side of things?
Well, I mean,
that might mean?
Yeah, because there's like, I'm forgetting how they called it, but basically selective and non-selective, as in people that know they're doing it and people that actually don't know that they're doing it. And basically, like, it's basically low energy for the work that you're doing. So I guess this is where people, to start off with, you might think that you're eating, like you might genuinely be eating a healthy diet, but if you're not eating enough calories for the energy that you are have, like your energy out, then you're not, like, you're still in that energy deficit. And I think it's a case of just being in an energy deficit for a long time, but which eventually leads to kind of all the symptoms and losing cycles, and then we'll go into that a bit more in depth. But
I don't think people notice either, like, because like especially from doing the bikini comps and trying to get really lean, it was kind of like, oh, have you lost your period yet? And that was the thing of, am I lean enough yet? Because have I lost my period? was like that was what we were aiming for. And then looking back, I'm like, oh my God, as if that's one of the things that was in my head about, oh, should I not have lost it? And I think people get into a bit of a hole of training loads, getting really lean, and wanting to stay like that, and not actually, because when you train so much, you get tired and you get DOMS and you get sore and you get into a bit of a rut, I think, and you can just prolong that for a really long time, and then hey presto, you've probably got many of the symptoms.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's like with the bikini comps as well, like obviously leanness is obviously what you're striving for, but that there's so many other sports that, like athletics, for example, like the little skimpy outfits some of the girls wear, just like there's so much pressure put on women, especially, to look a certain way, that it can just happen, like whether or not they're kind of pushed to do that, or whether or not they feel the need to look like that.
Yeah, I think with I think from like especially like elite top level sport or bodybuilding, when I think the idea is that when you lose your cycle, you then don't get the ups and downs of your training peaks that we spoke about last week. So I know for like from podcasts that I've listened to, people in things like athletics or an elite sport, it's almost good when they lose it and they don't want it back because it doesn't mess around with their training. But I guess that they're in that, at that moment, their goal is to be a top level athlete. It's not necessarily to care whether, well, I mean, this is whether we can build life right inside us, whether we have cycle or not. But at that moment, you just kind of don't care about that, because you're just like, oh well, if I've lost my cycle and it doesn't come back, then it's not like I'm not going to get affected by my peaks and troughs.
I think the biggest thing is because I think there will be people that are like, yeah, cool, I don't have a cycle, I don't have to worry about it, I can just train, I'm not going to have ups and downs like you say. But the thing to push is that you need estrogen, and how important estrogen is for your body and for the rest of your life. And you think about when ladies go through their menopause and how much that messes them up. So it just shows how important estrogen is. And it's not, like we've said a few times, not having a menstrual cycle is not okay, and it's so needed.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's why one of the things on here is one of the things about losing your cycle potentially, and you know, some people, I'm forgetting the official word they use for it, but some people just don't have a cycle and there's no logical reason. But if you are one of these people that is susceptible to overtraining or not fueling enough, or you're super lean, and if you're on contraception, you might, like, you won't necessarily know whether you're actually being affected or not, because obviously we know that the contraception is all kind of fake. And obviously we said before, we're not absolutely not knocking contraception, because it's being responsible, isn't it? But at the same time, if you've been doing like cycles of bodybuilding, or you've been lean for a long time and you're not sure on your hormones, then that's the only downfall of the pill and things, is that they can mask whether you're actually suffering from it or not. And that is one thing that I know for sure, that I was always on the pill during all my bodybuilding, and that's why I was I so wanted to get back to a natural cycle, because I was like, I genuinely have no idea in my 8 years of bodybuilding whether I ever suffered from this or not.
Has that really opened your eyes coming off of it now and coming out at the other end of bodybuilding and sort of seeing what your normal cycle's like? Are you a bit like, whoa?
Yeah, like I never suffered with anything before, and now I know why, because obviously my hormones were flattened. But it's just, I don't know, for about the last year I was like, oh, I hope my cycle's okay. Like, you know, you start thinking, am I having a period? Am I even, like, can I even produce life inside me? And I didn't think of it through literally until about the last year of my bodybuilding journey. Like, so it's been the last 2.5 years that I've kind of been like, okay, you need to come off this, you need to check, because now, especially now looking back, I bet there must have been massive periods of time that I was suffering from this, and some of the symptoms in there are very, you girls will know from having done bodybuilding preps, a lot of the symptoms we're going to go through, I know I suffered from all of them. So it's a case of I probably did. But the fact is that now I am having a cycle, and luckily my 8 years of bodybuilding, you know, I didn't take any assists. I wasn't like ill health of any like prolonged period of time. Like I tried to do it as sensibly as I could, so luckily, like, it hasn't messed me up long term. But you know, you do this to yourself at a young age, and it really can.
Yeah. I think one of the things when I was listening about it, and I didn't even like put 2 and 2 together, but the digestive problems that people, and it was when I was listening, I was like, oh my God, yeah, because people just think, oh, I've probably just got IBS, like, oh, I just must be intolerant to something or whatever. But actually, your digestive system is struggling so much because it doesn't have the energy to do its job properly, and slows right down. And it's just, I never would have put 2 and 2 together.
Same.
Yeah.
It's like you said, your body just, when you're in this energy deficiency, and this is us talking about when you're in it and you're constantly in it. One of the main symptoms, the first symptom for women, is losing their cycle. But we're going to talk through, like Fee's just mentioned and touched on one, all the other symptoms which also can come along with it. Even if you've got your cycle, usually losing your cycle is an early indicator. But even if you have got it, and this stuff we're going to talk about will affect men as well, if these are symptoms that kind of, they could suggest that you're in this deficiency. But yeah, and so not having the energy for your digestive system, I'm the same as Fee. Until I listened to it, I was like, oh my God, like it wasn't that I couldn't eat this thing or I was struggling with this. It was that my body just your body will always prioritize movement as a form of survival over, you know, other things.
I wonder how many guys we know, especially because I guess we know or have come across a few like athletes and CrossFit athletes in our past, or maybe with you and the bodybuilding side of things as well. But I wonder how many guys we know who have really struggled with this as well, and their hormones changing, and we can't forget, I guess, that they have estrogen too, and how that could affect them, and then low testosterone and no sex drive and all of these things as well. And maybe they just think, oh, it's just normal, I'm just tired, whereas actually probably not. There's underlying issues, and you're overtraining and you're under eating, and the same kind of things for us gals as well. Scary.
Yeah, it's it's all well known about in the bodybuilding world that, you know, guys get close to a show, same with us, right, and with women, basically get close to a show and you lose your sex drive. That is, like, you know, like Fee said, it's just for the men that don't have the testosterone. I'm not quite 100% sure what it is for the women, but yeah, they suffer with I don't know, I guess being able to perform in that area, because their body, they don't have the testosterone or the you know, the amount of estrogen to do it.
Yeah, so sperm production is not important.
Yeah, that's not a priority for them, is it?
No.
I guess the same relates the same to us. And then the injury side of things as well.
Yeah, I was thinking back to when I was playing football, like quite seriously, and I had one friend in particular who just, her eating just got ridiculous and more ridiculous and more ridiculous. In the end, she got diagnosed with anorexia, but before she reached that point, she lost her period, and we just kind of were like, oh, that's part and parcel of training really hard. But she got injured time after time after time after time. And back then, because I was thinking, like, now these would be like massive warning signs. Back then, like, strap it up, get on with it. Strap it up, get on with it. And she was like just so weak and feeble, and like she would have ticked every single box, but no one knew enough about it, especially around like female athletes, to pick up on it. In the end, she had to be told to leave the academy because she was so ill. But yeah, just repeated injuries, and I think it was just tiredness all the time. She was just like a little baby, like.
It must be so hard though, because you're striving so much to succeed and you're being pushed by people around you, and you just want to be really good at whatever it is that you're trying to do. And it's like you don't care about everything else that comes with it. You don't care that there might be some long-term health effects. And we were saying earlier, or Carmen, you were saying about your estrogen production and your health of your bones and your bone density might peak around 30. And if you have these problems when you're younger, then you're never going to have the great bone density that other people might have been able to have got without going through the low levels of hormones, which then would have long-term effects. And it's just mind-blowing.
Yeah. Like, think about all like the old people that like break their hip. Like, you think, oh, they're old, they're weak. But it's like, actually, you could start off at that point if you fuck around now and don't look after your bone health. Like, you could start at that point and it's going to progressively get worse.
Yeah.
Imagine if we knew what we know now back like 8-10 years ago, this would really, and this is why we want to try and reach them people that are 19, 20, like years of age, because it's so important. Like, thank God, I think, we've all had a healthy relationship with food. Well, not so much me through bodybuilding, but what I mean is that none of us, as far as we are aware, have done anything too extreme that it's kind of ruined our bodies. But there are so many more girls who it could do, if, like you say, like people in top level athletics or any sport, I guess. That is the lower, obviously. Basically, if you haven't got energy, your body's not going to produce hormones, and your hormones control everything. So much in your body. So like Carmen said, you have your bone, for men and women, the bone density suffers. Like, if you're not, everything relates to estrogen in women, testosterone in men, and obviously both men and women have a little bit of estrogen and testosterone as well. So without that, like, you've then got the high risk of the soft tissue injuries and stress factors, which we've talked about. Obviously, no energy for the digestive system, which we've talked about.
Immune system. People get ill all the time.
Yeah, Pavers, I think you said about when you were competing, did you get colds quite a lot?
Yeah, that was, I mean, a lot of that was also, I think, because I wasn't necessarily getting good micronutrients through my diet. However, it's definitely, I mean, everything's going to get suppressed when you don't have energy. Like, at the end of the day, your body will, just from being like a caveman or cavewoman, your body will prioritize energy your body will prioritize movement with the energy that you have. I think some sort of picture they paint when I listened to one of the podcasts I listened to was that, you go through phases where you'd eat a lot of food to store energy, and that's where you needed to store the body fat, so that if you went through a part where you then didn't eat a lot of food, your body would use the fat stores. And we'll talk about like primal times, but your body will always need to prioritize the movement because it needs to get food.
So then what about if sleep and red S? So if you're really tired, fatigued, you would probably expect that you would sleep a lot more to help you because you really need to recover. But that isn't the case, is it?
No.
For like your sleep quality, and again, this is something I can really relate to in bodybuilding, because I was going to bed and my body was just hungry, and I was like, why can't I sleep? And it's because your body is busy searching for food. It's searching for energy. It wants food. And that sounds mental because, like Fee said, you'd think that you just switch off, but it's that's what it does. It's searching for food. It doesn't want to switch off.
What's the sleepy hormone?
Melatonin.
Yeah, surely that would be affected as well, like thinking logically.
Yeah, of course, because
that would be down. So then when you're ready to go to bed, you're not having any that's being released. So like, although kind of you might be physically tired, your brain just can't switch off.
Yeah.
Because it's just, your body's like, where's the food? Where's the food? Give me food.
Yeah, that's all it's thinking about. I need energy.
Is there a link with serotonin as well and not producing as much serotonin.
Yeah, that I think that's linked to if you have low estrogen and low testosterone, you won't have your body won't release serotonin, which is why you can be really moody. And that, I think that's what happens part of one of our parts of our cycle when our estrogen's lower. That's why we can get moody, because lack of serotonin and feel good. But the problem is the people with that are susceptible, or the people that are going through RED-S, voluntary or involuntary. So you're feeling rubbish and you're feeling grumpy because your serotonin's low, but then you get that exercise dependency, because exercise makes you feel good and you get that release of endorphins.
Like a vicious circle, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a vicious circle, because you go and you do that and you get your feel good factor, but then you're putting yourself into more deficit, and it's almost like really negative, and then it goes and you think, oh well, and then that leads to lack of performance in the gym. And again, because of low estrogen, low testosterone, you won't progress in the gym because you haven't got that your body won't release that natural growth hormone. So you're not only are you suffering from being moody and then going to the gym to feel good, you then feel worse because you're not getting training adaptation.
Yeah, that makes so much sense, doesn't it? Yeah, and I guess that's why people kind of plateau through overtraining, and they're not going to ever be able to progress because of that, relating to the hormones.
Yeah, and that also leads to, I think Carmen mentioned it earlier, about the low cognitive function as well. Like
mental clarity, I can definitely relate to that. I remember I went to lunch with my family, and all I'd taken with me was this little packet of chicken for the whole day. Like I don't even know how I survived. I remember just walking around literally feeling like a zombie. My parents were like, "Is that all you're gonna eat?" I'm like, "Yeah." But how do people do it? I just and that was obviously out of choice. But yeah, I would never put myself in that hole ever again.
No, so I feel you there. I mean, that I just can't, like, when I think of stuff like that, just so many. And don't get me wrong, at the time, right? We did it. It was our choice. We did it for a reason.
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't know whether you girls called it this as well, but I used to call it. I actually called it fish brain, because a lot of bodybuilders just eat fish on their diet.
Fish and rice cakes.
I don't even eat fish. Fish and a rice cake, that video. God, you haven't seen it, people listening, Google fish and a rice cake video, because it will give you a bit of a laugh. But yeah, but it's all
shredded after that, weren't he?
Did
you think he was shredded after that diet?
I'm gonna have fish. I'm gonna have a rice cake. And later on, I'm gonna have fish and a rice cake. But no, in all seriousness, like prep brain, like all the time, like so badly, just dropping things, cannot function, just to, and I do that at the best of times, let alone with prep brain.
Oh my god.
Super grumpy. I would be interested to know, because like all of us, I guess, on like a form of contraception, that had I not been on contraception, how it would have been, and then if I didn't get my period, would I then decided to pull it a day?
Yeah, same. I'm kind of annoyed, really, because I'm a bit like, I came off the pill just after competing. I'm a bit like, I never actually got to know whether I would have had natural periods or how anything would have been affected then. And then that leads on to the point about being put on the pill to promote a period and having a withdrawal bleed. And again, the stuff we've been listening to, and how that's not the case. Like, that shouldn't be, you shouldn't be put on the pill to have a period. All the kind of signs and symptoms that we've spoken about, these are things that need to be addressed one by one, and your mental state as well as your physical state, and then gradually over time you should be able to get your periods back by that way, rather than just being, here, have a pill, that'll sort you out.
Yeah, it's mental, because that's like a huge juxtaposition. Like, it's just.
Oh, what word?
Is that the right word?
I don't know.
That's good. Let's go with it.
I think it means like
Trias Carter.
Chris Carter, where are you? I'll tell you what, see if this works. Alexa, what's a juxtaposition?
Mine's going.
An actual instance of placing them together or side by side, especially for comparison or contrast. The state of being played together or side by side.
Okay, thanks, Alexa.
What were you
Mine went as well. Fee, did you get 2 Alexas going then? You set mine off, Emma.
Mine's turned on now.
I could hear yours, Carmen. It basically means like putting things together the opposite, I think. But anyway, so like Fee said, people are not getting them, so they go on the pill to induce periods, which is the opposite of what it actually does. Which is just a bit mental. But yeah, I swear to God, like every single thing that is listed, that's just the thing that I went through, especially in my last however many years of bodybuilding, and I swear I would have lost my cycle, but I was always on the pill, so I don't know. But the weird thing is that it was a good thing actually, is that in the bodybuilding people say to come off contraceptive stuff because it's putting estrogen into your body, or it's putting hormones in, so they normally say to come off is meant to help you get leaner, but it's also a good thing if you do that, because then you know if you lose your cycle or not. But I mean, and it's not something, it can be reversed, but the longer it's like that, the longer it then takes to fix again.
What would you have anything to say to like your 18-year-old self before you started competing? Or Carmen, for you, like when we did it in our 20s, is there anything you'd be like, I wish I'd have something?
Well, this main thing, I wish that I knew just how the effect that it has on your hormones and your health. Yeah. Because there's a case of having willpower and motivation to diet down, and you can deal with people telling you, oh, you look too skinny, or you're too obsessed, or I don't know, you can deal with outside factors, but I guess it's the inside factors that I would say to myself again and be like, actually, before you get into all this, think about your health. But I guess it's easy for me to say now, but
I think the health kind of, the whole health industry and kind of the aesthetic side of things, for me, I think like it's all wrong really. Like I think the whole health industry needs to push health as opposed to aesthetics. Yeah. And like I just don't think like Anne-Maria is talked about enough, and the whole red S thing, and I just think you look and you think, I want to look like her. And you think, right, to look like her, I haven't got to do bikini shows so I can step on stage. And then you just kind of get a bit addicted to that. Whereas no one ever really sits you down and says, right, this could be some of the health complications surrounding your choices here.
Yeah. My biggest thing is, we always say like genetics. Like don't ever forget that some people have different genes and will look certain ways and be leaner in certain areas just down because of their genetics. And the other thing is, people are always like, I'll be happy when I have a six-pack. But you don't understand what you have to do on that journey to try and get there. And then you'll get there and be like, holy crap, I feel like shit. Like, I'm not happy. It's just...
Yeah, you've had that in your little Instagram post recently, haven't you?
Yeah, like, I'll be happy when. And then most of the time you get to the end going like, oh, well, I need something else to work towards now. So it's just about just enjoying what you have got and being happy in the moment on the journey.
It's almost like that I'll be happy when, and then there'll be a physical goal. And obviously a physical goal is great, but at the end of the day, as long as being happy that's a psychological thing. As long as you are happy, then that's what matters. So you should focus on getting your psychological, your mindset in a good place, rather than, we all know the benefits of having goals and reaching them and using them for motivation, and I get that, but there's also that, I guess that's something that, like you say, going forwards, that if you can focus a lot more on health and mental health. Like, you know, if I always say to people, if you have like 1,000 wishes but you don't have your health, then you don't even have one. It's like a really, and it makes you think that that's true. So if you don't have your health, then you don't really have anything.
That's the fundamental, isn't it?
Yeah.
The foundation.
And the sacrifices, like you were saying, for you, it's all the sacrifices that you have to go through in order to get to that point. Your health being one of them, but it's also all these experiences that you're missing out on. You don't want to be sat when you're 80, 90 just going, I missed out on a good proportion of my 20s because I chose to chase this goal, and actually I missed out on some of the best years of my life, and I've ruined my health.
Yeah, it's definitely something to think about. And there's all for, like, I'm all for the hustle and bustle and the grind at certain periods of time, but if it's over like a 10-year period, then yeah, you've missed that chunk now. You're not going to get that back. But yeah, I get it. Like, sometimes you need to grind for a year at a time or something if you want to really make a big progression at some area in your life. But if it starts to consume years and years and years, then that's where I'm a bit like, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Weigh it out.
There's a time, like a time, a place, a reason and a goal for certain things. But like you say, when it starts to consume your life, that's when you need to start thinking, okay, this has gone too far. And I guess this is kind of all this stuff we've been talking about just now is about maybe how people can go into that, you know, they go into voluntary red S because they're trying to get lean, they're trying to strip down their body fat, they don't want to have a cycle, that kind of stuff. But I guess there's also the people, like you say, who do the involuntary one where they don't realise they're doing it. They haven't got any unhealthy relationships with food. They're just not realising that they're eating a good diet, but they might be training twice a day. They might be elite athletes. And I definitely think that this is something that, like when I've sorted out my relationship with food, that I ended up having like an obsession with it after bodybuilding. But then I think, for example, me and Carmen were saying during the European Champs, when we were prepping for that, we were just not realising that our cycles both messed up, and that wasn't us on purpose. We were purposely trying to eat enough to train, but I believe that if for both our cycles, we went like 6-7 weeks for a cycle because our bodies didn't have enough energy to ovulate. Like that was a form of, like, because red S doesn't just mean losing your cycle. Having an erratic cycle is also a very early indication. So that was something that, you know, you need to be thinking about this, even if you don't think that you have an issue with food. It's not to do with food, it's to do with that energy balance.
Yeah, because I generally, I was like, my cycle's so long, and I didn't even think, am I eating enough food? I just thought there's something wrong with my cycle.
Yeah. Or I'm training. You didn't think about the food, you thought I'm just training a lot, which is not, just, you know, we just get told that's what happened.
2 and 2 together, really.
Yeah.
Super interesting. But, and also I think one fun thing I want to mention is about when people diet down and like for bodybuilding, or they get super lean or whatever, and they lose muscle mass and they lose fat mass or whatever. Like when you're in this, when you're in like a state of red S, your metabolism is also affected. It's also suffers, because like all your thyroid suffers. And again, it's just because your body doesn't have enough energy to help with the metabolism, the digestion, and so that slows down. Then you eat less and it slows down. You get less pressure in the gym, and again, it's just like this crazy negative cycle.
Yeah.
People go on some sort of, like, what do they call it? Like, so obviously they're on an energy deficit, and then they start to slowly creep.
Reverse diet.
Yeah, that's it. Reverse diet, don't they? Slowly creep it back up so they don't like pile a load of weight on.
Yeah.
After losing it all.
I guess so. Reverse dieting is an amazing tool for. It is amazing. It's an amazing tool for like not gaining too much weight too quickly, because like I said, your metabolism slowed down. So, but actually what your body needs in that very first instance, it needs a shit ton of calories, and that's what you almost need. The best way to do is to feed it for not overly amount, but feed it for like a week with all them calories. then be sensible and then go back. But it's just the case of sometimes the reverse diets are still very controlling, and I don't know, it depends on whether you have good relationships with your food or not.
Yeah. One for another day.
Yeah, that is leading into a
different series.
Oh, maybe we'll have a chat. Maybe we can. I don't know. It depends whether people have been liking our chat or not.
Yeah.
I was bigging up the moon cart the other day at work.
Were you?
You?
Yeah.
Christmas decoration.
Some other lady at work. So basically, at school, I've helped with the school getting a stock of sanitary products for like the girls, and obviously secondary school is a period of time when girls will start their period and find it really anxious. So Tampax have been really good, and they've given, was it always, I don't know, they've given like the school loads of stuff, and it always comes addressed to me. So I'm like the sanitary lady at work. But anyway, there's a box and someone was opening it and they were looking at what they were, and I just said I would never go back. And I was like, I feel like a spokesman for like Mooncut. I should literally just have one with me and be like, Mooncut, Mooncut.
That's
you need to get sponsored, Carmen.
I know, it's amazing.
That is awesome.
Literally one day we have to like, wait, this is Mooncut. This is what it looks like.
Oh, mine has stayed away in my drawer until I can maybe consider trying to use it again, but we'll see.
I don't know, like, we must all have different
cervix. Yeah.
Because cervix is there, right? And then this is like your vaginal wall. But
so it sits in here.
It sits in the vaginal wall, doesn't it? And then obviously the cervix is the little opening before the spermies go up.
Different vaginas and the different, maybe the cervix bit here is all different, because for me and Paisley it clearly just doesn't suction on.
Yeah,
I don't know what it does, but it doesn't
I
quite
think
do
maybe you need a different shape, because mine's a circle. Maybe you need like an oval.
Maybe that's what, like, that's the thing. Maybe it's a try, like, you just because that one's good for you. Obviously we've got a recommendation, we've tried to use it and we've not liked it. Maybe it is a case of just trying ones that did different ones, different design. I don't know, but they're just, I mean, I understand why they're expensive because they save you in the long run, but it's just hard to find one that does work. But
like 5, do you?
But no, I mean, hopefully that with the modern day, I'm sure they'll bring more and more out, and they'll get them cheaper, and I'm sure then give it however many years and many more people will be using them. So,
I hope after all these podcasts people feel more comfortable talking about periods.
Also, I love people are getting so annoyed with my Instagram. I don't even have many followers, and people are getting so annoyed with my period chat, and I'm like, well, don't follow me then. Like,
why are they getting annoyed?
Because I'm like the period lady. I don't even talk about it that much. So yeah.
I think men need to get used to it as well. When I was talking about it at work, someone kind of was like, "Oh, sorry, Chris," to like Chris Carter, and Chris was like, "I'm used to it. The girls talk about it all the time." And I was like, "He knows more than most women."
I love it. I think it's great. So, and if they're ever going to have kids, wives, all of that stuff, everyone needs to be aware. So,
educate yourself. Exactly.
No,
right,
it's a good
honeys. Been a pleasure.
It has.
Hopefully everybody's enjoyed our 3-part series, and now hopefully you're all clued up on period stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Bye.